Lord, remember that you said that we'll be back in Jerusalem. When? Next year. When is next year? Next year is next year. But it will happen. And it came to pass. I don't know, maybe some of you need to wrestle with the Lord according to his promises. Maybe some of you need to remind God. Me reminding God? Well, that's what Moses is doing. Lord, you said, you promised. I remember when I first came to Houston, invited by a small number of Spanish churches. And I remember, I think it was Christmas Day, I spoke in a church in Katy. Now everybody, a service, I preached, then everybody left and went to their own home. And I was traveling and I went to a Starbucks in Katy, there by myself, Christmas Eve. And I remember there were a few kids, and I think one girl, one young lady, she felt sorry for me, and she came and she said, "Merry Christmas, sir." And I said, "Merry Christmas." And then everybody left. And I was a little angry. And I said, "Lord, 20 years ago, I read in your word and I trusted. Lord says, lean not in your own understanding. Trust in me with all your heart, I will strengthen your path. Lord, 20 years ago, I believe when Psalm 37 says, keep silent in front of him, and he will do. Lord, are these your riches in glory? Starbucks in Katy by myself on Christmas Eve? Lord, are these your promises?" How do you talk to God like that? Well, when you've been waiting on his promises for a long time, when you put all your life on his promises, when you depend on his promises for a long time, when you trust in his promises, then there comes a point when you know you have the authority to reclaim. Well, somebody told me you have to wait in the Lord, not reclaim. There's a moment to wait and there's a moment to reclaim. Now you know if you have the authority to reclaim or not. If you have been putting all your life on that promise, if that promise in the Word of God has been all your wealth, then you know there is a moment when you can say, Lord, remember, Lord, you said. And I remember that day in the Starbucks in Katy, I got my Bible, I look at Psalm 37 and I went like this. You said in your word, keep silent in front of me and I will do. Is this what you promise that you will do? Are these your riches in glory? Well, shortly after that, a church in River Oaks invited me to preach. September 11 happened, and they asked me to join their staff. And suddenly I saw myself in the staff of a church in River Oaks with an office for myself, a working station there for myself, preaching to a crowd of River Oaks, preaching in churches, in homes in River Oaks, working with them. And shortly after that, a couple who used to come to my classes all the time, a retired doctor, said, would you come to our home and have dinner with us? I said, yes. And then he said, I've been working with Jewish doctors all my life. I admire them deeply. Their traditions, their background. You see that house in the back? I built it because I used to receive patients from all over the world. Now I'm retired. And my prayer has been that somebody who serves the Lord would use that house. And he said, and this is a true story, and he said, there will be nobody better than you who is serving the Lord and comes from Israel to use that place. Would you consider using that place? Well, I've been living there. It's not River Oaks, technically it's Bel Air, right there. But it's one of those houses. I've been living there for, 5 years, I guess now. And I think the Lord, why is the Lord doing this? Well, it's not that we have to wrestle with him, but are you going to believe and trust in what he promised? Listen, if you tell your kid, next Sunday I'll take you to the zoo, on Sunday, you better take your kid to the zoo, otherwise, he will do something. He will let you know. Are you going to let God know that you've been trusting on his promises? Are you going to let God know that you've been waiting and this promise has been your wealth? And now, Lord, with respect, just because you promised, why is God giving us promises in the first place? If not for us to rely on them, to trust on them, to put our lives on them. That's what Moses is doing. Lord, you promised you will introduce them into the land. You cannot destroy them. The Egyptians will be right. Salachti kidvarecha. I have forgiven as you asked. Maybe some of you watching us on TV need to wrestle with God according to His promises. He's giving us promises, maybe, for us to wrestle with them. God bless you.
Shalom.